Okay, court's back in session. Good afternoon, everyone. I am Judge Jackie Powell, and this is first appearance court. Please note that this is.
I'm sorry, but the blue light is not on. I don't know if it means that we're not recording or if the light or lack of it is not on.
It says it's on.
I'm gonna call. There. Hold on.
No,
I'll call somebody.
the video was
Okay.
recording, but
Sorry.
what's that? Maybe you upset somebody.
Good afternoon, Judge.
Good afternoon, Mr. Romero. We're waiting because our blue light is not on, so we're not sure if we're recording.
Okay, no problem. Yeah, probably not recording then.
Right.
I'm trying to get a hold of somebody. Nobody's answering. Aren't they next door? Nope. Both cells are not working. You called the office? I called 7723 and 75793. Aren't they next door?
Six one
961
775
17.
75. Bill.
Nobody's answering, Eric. I'm gonna try next. Eric, Alicia's on that line for you.
They're not there during the week, they're only next door.
Ah, there it is. Nice.
All right, we're back on the record for the afternoon docket. My name is Jackie Powell, and I am your judge for this afternoon. You're in magistrate court. This is not your regular division, so that means that today we're only here to talk about release. You'll have your time to go to your division and speak to your division judge if you want to go to trial or anything like that. So I ask that you remember that you're being recorded, and so anything that you say can be used against you if you decide to go to trial. With that said, if you have a private attorney and that attorney will be coming in when you come up, you can let me know who that attorney is. If you're represented by the attorneys at the Public Defender's Office, I'm sure you've had an opportunity to speak to them, or if you haven't, you will, and they will advise you whether or not you should speak at this time. So let's proceed with the docket, and I will, first up is Juliet Sarah Aru.
Bonded, Judge?
Thank you. Tatanea Brown.
Bonded as well.
Thank you. Rebecca Crawford.
Ms. Crawford is here, present, main judge.
Good afternoon, Ms. Crawford.
Good afternoon.
You've been charged with possession of cocaine and operating without a valid driver's license. I find probable cause. What's his estate?
Yeah, excuse me, Your Honor. I'm just checking to see if she has any criminal history.
Judge, while Mr. Lender is checking, I will let you know Crawford is basically a lifelong resident of the state of Florida. She's from Jacksonville. She's here basically on vacation. She is returning back to Jacksonville. She lives with her boyfriend up there, and she's in between work. She was working as a paralegal at her law office, and now she's looking for employment. Having said that, registered voter in her community. My understanding, I believe she had maybe one prior reckless some years ago. She's 31 years old. Judge, I'm going to be asking for the court to consider releasing Ms. Crawford ROR.
Thank you, Mr. Romero. If I can hear from the state.
Yeah, I just need one moment, Your Honor.
Okay.
The system is running a little slow.
Okay.
Thank you.
While we're waiting, Mr. Romero, does she live in Jacksonville? Because there's a West Palm Beach address. Is that?
That's my understanding.
When I get back to town, I'm going to reinstate my driver's license, and I couldn't afford it.
My understanding, Judge, is that's a temporary address in West Palm Beach, but she does reside in Jacksonville, is what she's informing me. And that's her intent on returning back to Jacksonville.
I have no objection to an ROR.
Okay. Well, at this time, I will ROR you on this charge. Ma'am, please pay attention to your mail. Make sure that you return back to court. If you don't appear for your court hearing, there could be a capias issued for you. Take care. Charlize Santos.
North Broward.
Thank you.
Did we? On her case, I'm not sure who sent him, but from what he told me, it was a private attorney.
A private attorney did ask me to be
Ms. Santos, do you know if your family or if you have retained a private attorney?
I'm not aware. I don't know.
I'm sorry, what is your name, sir? Do you know which private attorney?
Yes, a lawyer named Scott Saul, S-A-U-L.
And does he want to be heard, or what is it that,
No, he just told me, he wasn't expecting this hearing. He wanted me, he's thinking I'll bond her out. When we saw charge one, had no bond, when she had the bond, so posted. But then I found out she was Anthony on here. So he gave me those special instructions. He had retained her in the past. She has a previous matter I don't know about. She has helped her in the past.
but as of this moment, he is not retained on this case?
As far as I know, no.
Okay. All right, Ms. Santos, I find probable cause, state what.
Your Honor, I'm going to be requesting a $7,500 bond on count one, the first-degree felony. And, Your Honor, I'm also going to be asking for an order of no contact with her co-defendant, Jorge Andres.
What's his offense?
I really didn't get a chance to talk to Ms. Santos, Judge, when I heard that private counsel had sent the bondsman.
Oh, that's right.
I thought that perhaps someone had been retained. If I could have one moment. If we could put this on recall, Judge, let me have a brief word with her.
I have no problem with that. We'll place Ms. Santos on recall. Rodney Stewart Pierce.
He bonded, Judge.
Thank you. Mario Solomon.
Mr. Solomon is here at Main, Judge. He is approaching. This is a municipal ordinance case, Judge.
Okay, I find probable cause. What is Mr. Solomon?
Your Honor, Mr. Solomon has been arrested over 85 times. On the 23rd of December, he came to magistrate, at which time he was placed on pretrial supervision in case number 18-15796 CF10A for a petty theft, third or subsequent offense. He was rearrested because I know he was in here on Saturday, and that case was resolved. But here he is again. On Saturday, his pretrial was not revoked. I'm asking that the court will revoke Mr. Solomon's pretrial supervision based on the court's finding of probable cause on this case, that he be revoked in case 18-15796.
That's a misdemeanor.
No, it's a felony. It's a felony petty theft.
Okay.
This is the date when he was placed on pretrial. He was arrested on the 23rd, given pretrial on the 24th. And then he was rearrested again on Saturday. Because I know he was in magistrate on Saturday. And now today's case. And like I said, he's been arrested. If memory serves, this is his 85th arrest.
Mr. Solomon, do you have an attorney?
No, ma'am.
Have you spoken to the public defender?
Yes, ma'am.
Judge, this is a municipal ordinance case.
Sorry. That's right.
And just so the court knows, he's out on using the name Alexis Salmon. I know today his name is Mario Salomon.
That's not true.
So the court order that you have there, you'll see it says Alexis Salmon. It's him, though.
All right, Mr. Solomon, based on your priors, I'm going to revoke your pretrial release on case number 18-15796, is CF10A.
Yes, ma'am.
And then the bond on the municipal ordinance will remain as is, and we have no representative here today. I don't know if we want to hold him on to see if one of the attorneys will come in.
Maybe Mr. McLaurin.
Mr. McLaurin or somebody.
I don't know.
We can hold Mr. Solomon until the end of the docket in case one of the attorneys, the city attorneys come in. I can do that.
Regarding his revocation, is the court going to impose a bond on the revocation, or is the court going to hold him without a bond? On the felony charge that he's out on.
What is the felony charge again? Did you say it for the record?
Petty theft, third or subsequent offense.
Okay. Then we'll, on the 18-15796 CF10A, the pretrial is revoked, and we'll set a bond at $1,000.
Okay. I need the court to sign the bottom, and then put 1,000 right in there. Okay. And then you could just sign the bottom. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Santos, if you were so inclined, Judge.
We can recall Ms. Santos.
She's,
She was at North Broward. We're back on the with Charlize Santos. Mr. Reedy, you had.
Yes, Judge. I spoke with Ms. Santos' uncle. He has indicated he's working very hard to bond her out. He doesn't know if he can make the bond that's requested by the state. However, he did indicate that the bond on count one was $3,000, which would be a total of $5,200. That he would be able to do. Ms. Santos has lived in Florida for 18 years, which is her entire life. She has never been arrested before. She's currently working 2 jobs. She works as a secretary for a doctor's office, and she also works at Subway. She's a graduate of junior high school, and her uncle did indicate to me that she would be able to stay with him at his address in South Miami.
Okay, state, remind me, did you?
Your Honor, she has no record, but I requested $7,500 because, 1, it's a first-degree felony. 2, based on the allegations, when she took over driving the vehicle and fleeing, her actions caused a crash with the officer that was pursuing, and then looks like ended up injuring her co-arrestee. I understand that the court doesn't set it at $7,500, but I don't know that
They're also, oh, I'm sorry, Eric, go ahead.
I don't know that a $3,000 bond is necessarily appropriate on a first-degree felony either.
The uncle is working with an attorney in Dade County by the name of Scott Saul. I left a message for Mr. Saul. I didn't hear back, but It appears as though the uncle is pretty determined to try and help her out if he can, giving her a place to live, bonding her out, hiring her an attorney. So obviously he has a lot of faith in her, and maybe that's because she's never been in trouble before.
I see the bondsman is, sir, can you just step up to the microphone?
I just spoke to a lawyer outside. If you want to speak to him, I can have him come on my phone. You can call him if you need to speak to a lawyer.
But the question is, has he been retained to represent her?
He has not told me that.
Okay, then if he's not been retained,
He has not told me that at all.
okay.
He just mentioned that he has helped her family in the past.
Okay. Thank you, thank you. All right, on count one, fleeing and eluding, disregard, causing injury or death, the court's gonna set the bond at $5,000. Count two, grand theft auto, $1,000. Resisting officer obstruction without violence, $100. Possession of THC, $1,000, and the drug paraphernalia, count 5, will remain at $100. I find probable cause.
All right, I'll let your uncle know, Charlize.
As far as the state's request for no contact with...
No contact with co-defendant Andres. What is the last name?
First name Jorge, last name Andres.
Mr. Jorge Andres. So you have no contact directly or indirectly with Mr. Andres.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
I'm posting your bonds.
Thank you. Daniel Willis Butler.
I've been informed he bonded, Judge.
Can I find probable cause and absentia? Benjamin Nathan Paul.
I've been informed he bonded.
Okay, I find probable cause. Michael Camblin.
Bonded, Judge.
Demetrius Alexander Warren.
He's here at Main, Judge.
Good afternoon, Mr. Warren.
Good afternoon.
You have been charged with possession of alcohol by person under 21 years of age. Municipal ordinance, it's a municipal ordinance, and then we have a capias on a felony charge, which is no bond, and so I find probable cause, and the bond will remain as is, and you'll have to see your felony judge.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you. Cleon O'Donnell Best.
He bonded, Judge.
Thank you. Mike Cuevas Sinclair Singletary.
He's here present at Main.
Good afternoon, Mr. Singletary.
Good afternoon.
This is your driving while license suspended or a subsequent offense you've been charged with, and then there's a traffic. What do we want to do with this?
Judge, I'm asking for the court to consider placing Mr. Singletary on pretrial release. Unfortunately, financially, what he advised me, there's no one that's going to be able to post his monetary bond. He's 24 years. He's working. He works for a painting company. He's been with them for now 6 months, and he gets paid about by the day if there's work, and he gets paid about $100 a day. He lives with his cousin in Pompano Beach, where his share of the rent is $450. He advised me that his cousin right now cannot afford to post his monetary bond. This isn't his first contact with the system. He said it's been over a year. Judge, we're going to be requesting pretrial release on his behalf.
I don't object to pretrial.
Okay. And pretrial, your standard?
Standard pretrial supervision, no driving
Okay, Mr. Singletary?
must report tomorrow, Your Honor, because it's by the time he gets up today, he shot me.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Singletary, I'm going to do as your attorney has requested. I'm going to put you on pretrial release, standard reporting. I don't think you can make it today, so tomorrow you must report to pretrial release. Failure to report can result in a warrant being issued. Do you understand?
Yeah, I got you.
Okay. Have a good afternoon.
Good luck, sir.
All right, cool.
Pretrial release, yes. All right. Is this a perfection? Latanya Cherie Frost?
All right, Your Honor.
Good afternoon, Ms. Frost.
Good afternoon.
When was she here before?
Your Honor, she was before Judge Murphy on Sunday.
Okay.
Your Honor, my understanding, and Judge Bollock actually confirmed this with Judge Murphy, he found PC, but he did not find proof evidence or presumption great. The two issues being identification and the gun. He did not find that those evidence regarding those two elements rose to the level of proof evidence or presumption great. We came back yesterday, and the state asked for an additional 24 hours because Detective Augusti, who authored the PC affidavit, was not available. He was off yesterday and caring for his child. Your Honor, what I provided the court is it appears that the PC affidavit that the state defense and the judge had on Sunday was not complete. It was missing. If you compare the one attached to your paperwork and the one I provided, it's missing the last page. And while I think that would certainly, and it does mention her post-Miranda confession. Frankly, while I think that would cover any issues Judge Murphy had with identification, there is no new information with regards to the firearm allegation. So in good faith, I cannot ask the court today to make a finding of proof evident or presumption great. But probable cause was found, and I believe based on the additional page provided, there is probable cause, certainly. Judge Murphy set a $15,000 bond for the robbery firearm, and I'd be asking the court to keep that bond in place. I would note Ms. Frost's criminal history in 2015, possession of PVP. She was sentenced to 2 years state prison. 2014, she had a grand theft with a violation of probation. She was sentenced to 2 years concurrently to the PVP case I mentioned, and was released from state prison July 1st of 2017. Additionally, in 2015, she had 2 separate petty thefts.
Mr. Reedy?
I think it's clear Ms. Frost cannot make the bond as posted, or she already would have, bonded out. In light of the fact that, I wasn't here on Sunday when probable cause was found, but I did read the report yesterday, and I've read the additional information today. Ms. Frost is not going to be able to make this bond, and I think it's, whether there's a gun involved in this case at all, I think is somewhat dubious. As I made the argument before Judge Malika yesterday, there's a video of the co-defendant who's in a separate vehicle holding his hand as though he has a gun, according to the report that's currently before the court. I'd ask the court to consider a $5,000 bond for Ms. Frost.
And Your Honor, I just want to note, if we're going to bring up the arguments that were made previously, these arguments were made on Friday to Judge Malika, and she did find proof evident, a presumption great, finding that the two separate witnesses who both told law enforcement they saw the co-defendant carrying a gun was satisfactory. Your Honor, I understand that 15,000 might be beyond at this. I understand that 15,000 might be at the present time beyond Ms. Frost's means, but as the court is well aware, the factors for the court to consider are more than just the amount that Ms. Frost can afford to pay. If that was the only factor to consider, we wouldn't have to know about criminal history. We wouldn't have to know about the facts of the case, the severity of the charge, and potential consequences she faces. We'd only need to know what kind of bond she could afford.
Thank you. I find probable cause, and based on the nature of the charges, I'm going to keep the bond at $15,000. Thank you, Ms. Frost. Can we go to the felony docket?
Yes.
Are these all the second looks?
I apologize, Your Honor. You asked about them.
No, I was asking if these are all the second looks. I have PCs on probably 3.
Yes. I believe I provided the court. There's a municipal ordinance second look that I did not provide the court a PC for.
Okay. Maybe Mr. Odom will be able to help with that one. All right, so what I have before me is Joseph DeRico.
North Broward.
How you doing, man?
Hi, Mr. DeRico. You're charged with possession of MDMA.
Yes, ma'am. I also have the pretrial violation, but I've been here 48 days on that pretrial violation. I didn't know if I could be released on that as well.
Well, can I have a probable cause affidavit, or all I have is this order. I don't have any information about the case.
On which case?
On Mr. DeRico.
Oh, this is a motion to release, Your Honor. On the case before the court, we have now filed the information, so he's entitled to release on this charge.
You have not filed?
No.
Okay.
On the other case he's referring to, I really don't know. I mean, I imagine the, actually, if I could check one moment, Your Honor.
Please.
It's case number 1801-4329. There was a possession of heroin that was no introed, and there's a possession of drug paraphernalia and a county ordinance where he's being held no bond on those.
All right, well, as to what's before the court today, the state not having filed the charges, I'm going to grant your ROR on that charge.
Joseph, I'm going to try and get you set down in front of your division judge as soon as I can, okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's all?
That's all,
it.
Mr. DeRico.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
You want to work it out? I mean, we can.
Yeah. We can work out the heroin possession of
Yeah, okay.
paraphernalia.
Now, you're in front of Judge Malika, sir.
What happened?
You're going to be in front of Judge Malika. I'm going to try and get you. You're going to be in front of Judge Malika.
Okay, is that today?
No.
They're going to try and get you in as soon as possible.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay.
Right, good luck.
Thank you.
How about Ronald Sands?
No problem.
Good afternoon, Mr. Sands.
How you doing?
And, Your Honor, the state has filed an information. We filed the top count of robbery firearm. It's actually technically been upfiled to robbery with a firearm or deadly weapon with a mask enhancement. We charged attempted robbery with a firearm or deadly weapon and declined the trespassing count.
Has he been magistrated on those at charge, or is it what's going to happen with those?
What's going to happen, Your Honor, is a change of charge plus add charge capias will be created when we file the case.
Okay.
The clerk's office will process the paperwork to the jail, and then he'll get put on the first appearance docket.
So, Mr. Sands, just to let you know, you were here today for an ROR pending the state filing the charges. They have filed the charges, and some of them have been ad charged. You will come before the court, but for this purposes today, the ROR is being denied.
And the clerk's office will also schedule an arraignment.
And the clerk, you'll get a court date. Okay? Take care, Mr. Sands. Shanta Donald.
She's in court, Judge.
She's in court. Is she in court for arraignment?
My guess is, I provided the court paperwork, her PC, and when she was arrested for this offense, she was on probation for domestic violence battery. Judge Malika was made aware of that. Since she was arrested, her probation officer had a warrant signed. I believe I provided the court with a copy of the warrant that was signed by Judge Kaplan for Judge McHugh. I suspect she might be before Judge McHugh at that VOP.
So have these charges been filed though?
It's a second look. She was just arrested on January 2nd.
And she's being held no bond, is what you told me earlier?
On her new arrest, she's being held no bond? Is that what you were saying, Mr. Reedy?
Yes, I believe that's the case, Judge. So there's probably not a lot we could do for her anyway.
All right, so...
Your Honor, I just received some additional information from confinement. My understanding is she resolved the VOP. She was sentenced to 180 days, which could be reduced to 90 days upon completing special conditions. Your Honor, considering that she's going to be in custody for 90 days on that sentence, I'd ask that the court take no action. That's plenty of time for the defense to file a motion to have the bond reviewed in her assigned division.
Okay, well, the court will take no action at this time as to Shanta Donald. Cedric Thomas.
He bonded.
Bonded.
Michael Mencine.
He's here present at Main, Judge.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mencine. What are we here for?
It's a second look, Your Honor. It says on the docket, burglary structure. I provided the court with a copy of the PC affidavit, but also Judge Malika's findings. As you can see in Judge Malika's findings, she found probable cause for burglary of a dwelling. It was incorrectly charged by the officer. If it had been correctly charged, he wouldn't be eligible for a second look because burglary dwellings are not eligible for second looks. I would also note Judge Malika set a $5,000 bond. That's partially based on the fact that Mr. Mencine has an open pending burglary of a dwelling. So based on all of that, I would ask the court take no action at this time.
Judge, I'm going to ask you to take action on this case. I can see he had a co-defendant. The co-defendant was given a $1,000 bond. The facts of the case is basically, my understanding is the co-defendant goes on somebody's yard and steals a piece of fruit off a tree. And then in the very, very vague and very brief PC affidavit, the officer writes a conclusory statement basically saying, a witness saying that he was acting as a lookout, but the only facts supporting that is he was walking back and forth at a sidewalk. That's exactly what happened. He was walking with this girl. This girl just basically disappears from his sight, and then from what he knows, she's, I guess, being arrested for taking fruit off a tree, and then he's arrested. He never acted as a lookout, never gave any sort of indications or gave any instructions or tried to warn the co-defendant. But none of this is in the PC affidavit because it's a very vague and brief PC affidavit. So, Judge, I understand now he is out on a case. That is why I believe Judge Malika put the bond so high. But the case that he's out on bond is he's accused of going into a carport and stealing a bicycle. Judge, I understand he has an open burglary, and certainly in that division, that judge or the prosecutor make a motion, make the appropriate recommendation as far as maybe having his bond revoked. But on this case that's here before you, we're speaking about a person allegedly taking fruit off a tree, and then his part is he's the lookout. Judge, I don't think that happened at all as far as he was a lookout, so I'm going to be asking the court to consider releasing him on pretrial release.
I agree. I'm going to put Mr. Mancini on pretrial release on this charge. Standard.
Thank you so much, Your Honor. Thank you, Your Honor.
Please make sure that you report to pretrial by tomorrow at noon.
No problem, Your Honor. Thank you so much. I have a kid to take care of at home. You don't know how much this means to me. Thank you, ma'am.
Good luck, Mr. Mancini. And then Luis Sepulveda.
No problem, John. No problem.
And I believe I got paperwork on that one as well.
Yes, ma'am.
You want to do it? What do I do? We're done. We all done this. No problem, Jonah.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. Cruz.
How you doing, miss?
Do you need a Spanish interpreter?
No, miss, I speak English.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
No, I was able to speak with him, Judge.
Oh, great. This also is a second look on Mr. Cruz, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And just so the record is clear, why are we doing a second look on this one?
Per the administrative order, it is eligible for a second look.
Okay. All right, Mr. Reedy, you have had a chance to speak to Mr. Cruz?
I did, Your Honor. Essentially, as the court can see, this involves stealing an electric bike that was left unlocked outside of McDonald's and then reselling it for $30. From what Mr. Sepulveda tells me, the bike didn't even look like it was worth $30, but that's another story, I suppose. I didn't speak with his mom. I asked Mr. Romero to call his mom, which he did because the mom does not speak very good English. But she did indicate that Mr. Sepulveda cannot stay with her. So right now I don't really know where he would go. I'd like some more time to see if I can find a place for him. I don't think that he's got any court dates set because the charge hasn't been filed. And I know it's a serious allegation, but it's, not the worst dealing in stolen property I've ever seen. I'd ask the court to consider maybe resetting him for later in this week to give me an opportunity to see what I can find out for him.
Your Honor, I'd be asking the court to take no action at this time. First, I would note Mr. Sepulveda Cruz, since in the past year, has been arrested in Broward twice on local capiases and once on an out-of-state hold. And that's my concern, is his future appearance in court. It's somewhat telling his own mother doesn't want him residing with her. I would ask the court, and certainly if the public defender gets any additional information where he could stay, then a motion could be filed in front of the assigned judge. But we're here today for the second look, and I'd ask that the court take no action.
Judge, in reference to what the state said as far as their own mother doesn't want him residing with her, I don't think that's true. I believe the reason why she gave me is because her apartment's so small and she's taking care of, I believe, someone who's ill. She cannot physically accommodate him, and that is the reason why he cannot stay. Not because she doesn't want him to be there. It's just she just can't.
I'm going to leave this for your attorneys to figure it out, Mr. Sepulveda Cruz. I am not going to take any action, and certainly if your attorney can figure out where a place for you to stay, then that can be worked out, and you can argue.
I cannot get released on pre-trial, please. I've been living on the street 1 year. You heard me, Maestro? I've been living on the street for 1 year.
That's part of my concern, Louis.
But like,
I cannot. Let me try and find some place for you to go.
Please, let me, I don't feel uncomfortable here. Please, I wanna I get released. I can get more thing, please. Give me the opportunity to go back, to go back out there. Please, sir, please. I beg you.
They're gonna work on it, sir, and they'll take you back to your division judge, okay?
I can't even.
What do you mean?
I don't have, I see Mr. Odom is here.
Yes, Mr. Odom's client is here at Maine, Judge.
Good afternoon, Mr. Odom. I just have no paperwork.
Your attorney's right there, going to be in the middle. So.
Oh, this gentleman was up before. What's his name?
Mario Saul.
Judge, I know you had George Odom on behalf of Mr. McLawrence. I was advised by the PD's office that Mr. Demetrius Warren on page 6, you took no action because he does have a strong armed robbery.
Yes, that's correct.
And I just wanted to note he does also appear to have a unrelated or maybe a new arrest that came post the strong armed robbery alleged incident. If he's not at the jail any longer, then I said it'll get addressed in front of the division, but I just want to make sure if possible he could get counsel on the city case. I'm sure the PD's office probably are already provisionally appointed to the felony case, but if no action has been taken and he's not present, then we can just move forward.
I'll sign the orders.
Thank you, Your Honor. And obviously, well, not obviously, but we're not seeking to do anything with the city case, being that he's one thing at a time with his allegations. As to Mario Solomon, which I believe is in front of the court today, again, George Odom on behalf of Mr. McLawrence, based on his financial status and his previous appointment of the Public Defender's Office on a felony case that I believe was his pretrial release was revoked and the court has issued a new bond, or at least a bond on that amount. As far as his city cases, Judge, I've advised him I don't think it's at this point in his best interest to resolve, so we're just seeking to be appointed to the, Mr. McLawrence is seeking to be appointed to the case, and we will deal with it if necessary in division.
So ordered, Mr. Odom.
Thank you, Your Honor. There's one last one on the second.
Wait, that's not what he told me. He told me he was going to ask him.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're right, Mr. Solomon. You are correct. I apologize. Judge, I did speak to him concerning count 2. There's a $100 bond on count 2, and I'm asking the court to do this. I'm asking the court to either ROR him on count 2 or give him a nominal $25 bond on count 2. Here is why. We know the purpose of the bond is to make sure that he returns to court. We know he's no longer on pretrial release now based on the pending felony case. He has a $1,000 bond. He doesnn't have any income. It's going to be hard enough for him to try to ascertain the funds in order to post bail on the felony. But I think the city, if they were here, would be in agreement that if he doesn't show for the felony, if he doesn't show for the city case, he's probably not going to show for the felony case, and of course a warrant will be issued at that time, and they will do the proper measures to take him into custody. So I would ask the court to consider, instead of the 100, to reduce that to either 25 or ROR, because there's already a mechanism in place to secure his return to this jurisdiction for a pending proceeding.
I will ROR him on the municipal ordinance case.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay.
Last
Do I need to get the paperwork back? Oh, thank you.
Last I have, Your Honor, is one on the second look docket, page 2. Tommy Jackson, Mr. McLawrence, is already on that case. I attempted to locate him, but I was unsuccessful. I don't believe he's at Maine, so that will leave Paul Ryan or North Broward.
Paul Ryan, do we have a Tommy Lee Jackson? Is somebody saying North Broward?
I believe he's at North Broward.
Tommy Lee Jackson?
He was at it first thing this morning, so.
Judge, I would just ask, he's got 31 days in. He was arrested. If my rules of procedure serve me correct, my memory served me correctly on the rules of procedure, after 30 days, if there's been no formal filing and the defendant has been in custody, that they're entitled to an RR. Now, although there's been no written motion on our end to that effect, I do believe, Your Honor, that if me counting correctly and the docket is correct, that he would be entitled to an RR on this case. Now, on these two charges, I do not know with certainty if these two charges are holding him in custody. I did read the probable cause affidavit. I'm not sure if there was some concern there, and that's maybe why Okay, so what I'm being told, and it's the state that's advising me, he had a felony VOP, which apparently was dismissed. I can't confirm that. I take the state for its word. So here's what I'm going to ask the court to do in light of that information and in light of his time in custody on these city cases. I'm not going to ask the court to, clearly he can't resolve because he's not here. Would the court be inclined to a release on his own reconnaissance for count 1 and count 2, and then he can come back if there's an issue or it needs to be resolved? Then that can be done instead of him being held in custody on these two city cases for now at least a month running now.
Mr. Linder, do we know what's going on with this arrest, this charge?
This offense or the other?
I understand that the VOP has been dismissed. Is that correct?
That's what BSO Picks is reflecting. He's not being held on that anymore.
Okay.
Your Honor,
So as of now, he's only being held on this municipal.
Yes.
And it's been 30 days.
It would appear so. I can also tell you, Your Honor, looking at the case number in Odyssey, it's not indicating that an information has been filed. There's no court.
Okay. Then, Mr. Odom, I'll grant your motion for RR on these municipal charges.
Thank you, Your Honor. And that's all I have before the court this afternoon. May I be excused?
You are excused.
Thank you. Always a pleasure.
Okay. Is there any other matter for this court?
I don't think so, Judge.
Any other matter? Anybody's waiting? And Paul Ryan, North Broward, Conti, no one. Hearing no response, court is now
Who's that guy?
court is not out of session until tomorrow morning at 8:30. Thank you very much.